Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at a massive trade and a Goal Line Hockey trade tracking breaking news update. I know, a pretty long title, but we have a pretty big trade to talk about today, as the Tampa Bay Lightning have made a trade that is pretty much telling the NHL we are looking to win another Stanley Cup. We are going for a three-peat. And there's no better way to do it than the way they did it. They made a major move here. This is something that for the players in the locker room, they're thinking, all right, Julian Breezeball definitely believes in our team, and he just added a really nice addition to their lineup. For the Blackhawks, well, a lot of people consider them the winner of this deal, so we'll go over all of that. So let's start off with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the Tampa Bay Lightning acquire forward Brandon Hagel, a 2022 fourth-round pick, and a 2024 fourth-round pick from the Blackhawks. So basically, I would say a middle six forward, maybe top six forward, and two fourth-round picks. Some depth draft picks. That's really what it is here for Tampa. And considering they traded two draft picks, this is them just moving down the next two drafts that they have with those picks. So that's kind of what you're looking at in that sense. So they still have draft picks just later in the draft. So that comes down to Breezebois truly believing and having enough trust in his scouting department where maybe they won't draft them in the first round, but they could draft solid players in the fourth round. So there's a little bit of that to that. The other thing is obviously the big piece of this trade, which is Brandon Hagel. So Brandon Hagel, if you guys don't know, he's been playing with the Blackhawks. Quite fittingly enough, he was in the 6th round of the 2016 NHL draft. You know who drafted him? That's right, just like everybody else in the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres. He's 23 years old from Saskatoon. This is a kid that's he's worked his way up. The prototypical NHL guy that had to really grind his way into the league. From 2014 up until, well, really 2015 to 2019 is when he got his notice. He was playing in the WHL with one of my favorite teams in the Western Hockey League in Red Deer with the Red Deer Rebels. Put up 100 points in his final season in Red Deer. He would spend the next 2 seasons in the American Hockey League with the Rockford Ice Hogs, putting up some decent totals. In 67 games, he picked up 32 points, 19 goals, 13 assists, where he ultimately got his shot in the NHL. He played these past 2 years are really the bulk of his NHL experience. Last season, he had 24 points in 52 games with the Hawks, and this season, he has just turned it up to another level, to the point where the Blackhawks decided to trade him. 37 points in 55 games this season. He has 61 points in 108 NHL games. A lot of teams were vying for Brandon Hagel. We were hearing a lot of talk about the Maple Leafs, a lot of talk about the Penguins. The Bruins were in the mix. A lot of teams were in the mix here for Brandon Hagel, so that did drive up the price, I'm sure. And the most attractive thing here, especially for the Tampa Bay Lightning, is his cap hit. He's making $1.5 million until the summer of 2024, where he will be a restricted free agent. So that means they have this year, next year, and the year after that. They have 3 potential Stanley Cup playoff runs with a player making $1.5 million per season. And you look at his totals this year, he's on pace to potentially hit 50 points this season. 50-point player for that cap hit, that is why the price was so high. And that's what we're going to get to in a second, because this price tag, the Blackhawks got a lot for Brandon Hagel. They definitely did. But you catch a team like Tampa Bay, who is in a cap crunch looking for a 50-point player for that cheap, they are willing to give you those assets. And that's what they did. So what did the Chicago Blackhawks acquire? Well, they actually acquire 4 assets in terms of this deal. They acquire a 2023 and a 2024 first round pick from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Both those are first round picks. And they are both top 10 protected. Now, I would assume that the other one would, whether it's 23 or 24, would inevitably slide to 25 and 26. But that's kind of where you're at with that. And that could get ugly because now that's 2 first-round picks. So you're projecting potentially over the next 3 years of a little bit of worry for the Tampa Bay Lightning in the event that comes up. But I don't think it will. I mean, again, we've said this before. San Jose, Ottawa, right? We've seen them make trades before. They trade a first-round pick a year, 2 years out for the 2024 pick. That could be dangerous. They also acquire some, I don't want to call them prospects because they've now played their first NHL season this year. They acquire 2 forwards, Taylor Radish and Boris Tkachuk. Now, going into the season, I actually made a video last year about the Lightning after, who are they going to need to step up if they want to three-peat? They're going to be losing a lot of depth. They lost Blake Coleman, David Savard. They lost some guys like Yanni Gourde to the expansion draft. So other guys were going to have to come up through their development. And the first one being, a lot of those guys was Cal Foote, Taylor Radish, Boris Tkachuk, Alex Barré-Boulet, who isn't even here anymore. And actually, quite fittingly, out of those 4 guys, Cal Foote's the only one still there. So Taylor Radish, a 2016 second-round draft pick. He's 24 years old. He played in the OHL, and the funny story here with Taylor Radish is in Chicago, he will be reunited with his 2 teammates from the Erie Otters of the OHL. Alex DeBrincat and Dylan Strome and Taylor Radish will all be back on the same NHL, in their first NHL franchise all together. So that's pretty cool. They have that connection from the past, so that's pretty cool. Looking at the last couple years for Taylor Radish, he's played the last 3 seasons in the American Hockey League, including this season. He had 70 games. His first season, he put up 46 points. That's pretty impressive. His points definitely dipped this season after. He did play 8 less games, 35 points. Last season he did, this year in the AHL 2020. Actually, no. Excuse me, that was last year, 2020, 2021. He was above a point per game in the American Hockey League, and that's that's pretty difficult to do. He had 29 points in 27 games, so that's pretty impressive. And then you get to this season, his first any real NHL action. He picks up 12 points in his first 53 games in the big leagues in the NHL. So that's okay, I guess, right? So Taylor Radish, he was projected to be a top 6 forward, a second-round draft pick, 58th overall. So there was the expectation he could be a really good player. I definitely remember hearing his name around the draft time. In that time frame. I mean, there was rumors he could even go in the first round. Like, he was talked very highly of. His contract takes him, kind of like Brandon Hagel, till 2024. So this ends up being a benefit for the Blackhawks because they have 2 years legitimately, including this year, the next 3 years to evaluate Taylor Radish, if he's an NHL player or not. That's Taylor Radish. Boris Tkachuk is another player from that same draft in the same round. He was drafted ahead of Taylor Radish. He was the 44th pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning in that same 2016 NHL draft. Tkachuk and Radish actually played together in Sioux with the Greyhounds in Taylor Radish's draft year. He ended up getting moved there. So Boris Tkachuk, 23 years old, just slightly younger than Taylor Radish, but he'll be turning 24 in June. He's been playing again in the AHL for the past 4 seasons now, including this one. And he's been a pretty good player. Last season he did really well, which is the 2020-21 season. He picked up 34 points in 29 games, so well above a point per game, was probably playing with Taylor Radish. And Boris Tkachuk has a different style than Taylor Radish. Taylor Radish is more of the scoring, sniper, playmaker, like the guy that's on the edge. Kind of maybe not Mitch Marner, but you get what I'm saying, that type of player, more of a perimeter player. Boris Tkachuk is more of the power forward. He does have a good shot, but he's more that guy that's going to get in front. And you look at his size, 6'2", 206 pounds. Probably not going to be a guy that's afraid to drop the gloves either. But he's more of your Chris Kreider, Anders Lee, Blake Wheeler, that more of a power forward type player. And you look at what he's done in the NHL, and it's been very underperforming. He's only got 6 points in 38 games this season, which I'm sure that the Tampa Bay Lightning were hoping for a little bit more from. His contract, as well as Taylor Radish, both RFAs in the summer of 2024. So you have the rest of this season and the next 2 full seasons for the new management there, Kyle Davidson and the Blackhawks, to figure out if these guys are legit NHL players or not. Boris Kachuk is a left shot. Taylor Radish is a right shot. So right there, you have 2/3 of a line right there, pretty much. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. So a lot of assets. Again, the 2 first-round picks is a lot as well, and it's going to change the market of this year's trade deadline, because a lot of teams thought that the Ben Sherratt trade was going to really elevate this, the expectations for this deadline. And this trade might have just put it over the edge. If you're Philadelphia right now and you have Claude Giroux, this guy went for 2 former second-round picks and 2 first-round picks in the next 2 years. What are the Flyers going to get for Giroux? Again, different circumstance. He's a rental, but he's the captain of the Flyers, been with the Flyers for 15 plus years, an elite talent. So you wonder how this is going to affect the market going to the deadline. Are teams going to become more sellers because they're like, shit, man, they got that for Brandon Hagel? Or are we going to see more of the buyers pull back and say, no, we're not going to make as many trades now because that trade has really set us over the edge. Like I said, overall, this is a good trade for both sides. Again, it's kind of like the Ben Sherratt trade. It's how you look at it. At the end of the day, Tampa wins this trade if they win the Stanley Cup at least one more time in the next 3 years, and nobody's talking about this. And if Brandon Hagel is a part of that, right? Same thing for the Florida Panthers. If Florida wins a Stanley Cup and Ben Sherratt gets the game winner in game 5, 6, or 7, everybody's going to shut up about the first-round pick and the good prospect and the fourth-round pick. Nobody's going to talk about that anymore. So that is the key for these teams. You can't really decide a winner or a loser, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm actually going to put a poll out as well. If I have not already, make sure to check that out on our community tab here on the channel, because I am going to be posting. I'm curious to see what you guys think of this trade, because depending on how you look at it, it's a win for one team in the future, and it's a win for another team right now. Let me know what you guys think, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.